See, if you just joined us, we have multiple angles. We're covering every side of this court case later this morning. So, Des and Tathia looking at the ANC ramifications of this court case. Siphamandla Goge, let me come to you and not to offload too big a legal question to you. Just like we learnt the term dolus eventualis in a big court case all those years ago, the big one everyone's talking about today, and I'm going to say it slowly, Section 106. Subsection 1, subsection H. It's almost going to be a Twitter trend later, isn't it? But that is what today is all about in this plea from Jacob Zuma's defense counsel team.
Indeed, you and our viewers better start getting used to that term. And I can tell you that inside court there will be too much technicalities and legalities, but outside court, that's where the political show will be. So Thulasizwe Simelane will take you through what will be happening inside court in terms of those technicalities. But let me tell you that the stage is set outside. Let me not waste too much time because this man has to leave. His name is Carl Niehaus. Carl, you are here to support the former president. You've been supporting him. But some people are worried about what the NWC said, that you, Ace Makashule, Tony Yengeni and others could be possibly charged for your utterances here when you came to support the former president last time. Are you worried?
I'm not worried at all. I'm unfazed. As you said, I've been supporting President Zuma right from the beginning when he was charged. That is now close to 22 years. I'm back here. I'm unequivocal in my support for President Zuma. As far as I know, the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress has said that any member of the ANC has the right to support President Zuma, and I am asserting that right without any apology.
Last time ANC leadership in KwaZulu-Natal was booed. There are concerns that some people will come here to boo the ANC leadership in the province. Have you spoken to the former president about this matter?
I think it is important that the African National Congress must work for unity. We also want to see unity here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And I believe that in the province of KwaZulu-Natal and throughout the country, there must be unity in the support also for President Zuma and the very unfortunate manner in which he has been subjected to political shenanigans in this trumped-up political trial right from the beginning.
Carl Niehaus, thank you very much for your time, Baba. Well, Karat, let me tell you that I've also spotted former President Jacob Zuma's son, Edward Zuma, is here, and some family members going to ask my colleague, Joe Koman Ngamalat. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Zuma. If we just can get a comment from you as a family, you are here to support your father. Do you still maintain that these charges are politically motivated?
Yeah, good morning to the viewers. No, we've always maintained that this is a conspiracy and it's bigger than we think, and it's got foreign agents in it. So we know these are just trumped up charges, which ultimately will be transferred.
Today he will have an opportunity to plead. He has pleaded not guilty in a court of public opinion, so we expect that inside court he will plead not guilty too. But how is he feeling? Have you seen him? How is he doing?
No, he's okay. You know, if you're an innocent person, you need not to stress with anything. He will definitely plead not guilty because he's not guilty. So we're expecting the court process to proceed. We've been saying for years that we are ready. If they want us to start the trial, we'll start it today.
Thank you very much for your time. Thulasizwe Simelane, I'll have to take it to you, my brother. Later on, we'll take a walkabout and show you this massive stage that has been set on my right. But for now, please talk to us about legalities and technicalities.
All right, Thulasizwe, I think we're going to come through to you.
I lost the line to you there, but I think I got the gist towards the end there of your conversation with Edward Zuma there. Interestingly, he mentions political conspiracy and says this has foreign agents all over it. That's interesting because as I show you what's happening inside court there, courtroom A, nothing much happening at this point, but that's where that drama will play itself out inside courtroom A here at the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. And that word, political conspiracy and foreign agents, is going to feature. And we're going to unpack and show you exactly how that will feature in the arguments to be heard today. But let's start with why we are here. We are here today to hear arguments on former President Jacob Zuma's plea, that is in terms of section 106, subsection 1, subsection H. And as we pull it up and we show you the contents of what Mr. Zuma is pleading before Judge Piet Koen. Have a look at that. It is in terms of that section that I just told you about, section 106, subsection 1, subsection H of the Criminal Procedure Act. In the arguments that he will present, we expect that Mr. Zuma will say that he has a reasonable apprehension that Billy Downer lacks the independence and impartiality for a lawful prosecution to be conducted. And he will be saying this and saying that this is because partly Billy Downer filed an affidavit in support of the DA, an affidavit that supported the DA's case on the matter when the charges had been dropped, and the view of the top leadership of the NPA at the time, Mokote Dimshe and others, was that the prosecution of Mr. Zuma had been tainted by political meddling, and Billy Downer filed an affidavit that Mr. Zuma says had the opposite effect of actually supporting the DA's case and describing the DA as a hostile party. And one of the interesting arguments that we expect, Gareth, will be around Mr. Zuma saying that expect the name Leonard McCarthy to feature highly, and that's where the issue of foreign intelligence, foreign agents that Edward Zuma was alluding to will likely come up. And in an interesting argument, Mr. Zuma is expected to link Billy Downer to his allegations against Leonard McCarthy, basically saying that he covered up for Leonard McCarthy's spying activities. And having made those arguments, we expect Mr. Zuma to then say he is entitled to be acquitted if Billy Downer is removed. Let me bring into the conversation in fact, before I do that, Gareth, let's take a listen to Mr. Zuma while on the point of foreign intelligence and involvement of foreign intelligence before I bring in Sesethu Magaba into the conversation.
In 1990, when we were already inside the country, I received a report, an intelligence report, which was saying there were 3 intelligence organizations that met, had a meeting to discuss me. And had a plan to begin in 1990 a process of character assassination of Zuma. The reason why we wanted to character assassinate the Zuma's character was because he has a lot of information that he holds. Among that type of information, as a chief of intelligence, there are spies that are infiltrated by us in his organization. Whom we want to nurture, that they grow within the structures of the ANC to a point that at some point they will have to lead the ANC. Now, Zuma has information about these, We don't know when will he use his information to stop that process, that plan of theirs. And therefore they took a decision that Zuma must be removed from decision-making structures of the ANC. And that's why the character assassination began. That's the beginning of the process that has put me where I am today. And I thought it is important to go through this. Whatever else will be the end of your process, but at least some truth should be known.
So that's the politics of it, the argument that part of this process that has led to this trial is the orchestration of foreign agents. Expect that political stance to translate to arguments inside court, particularly in as far as Leonard McCarthy is concerned. I'm joined by Sesethu Magaba of Mpungose and Dlamini attorneys. In terms of the burden and the task that Mr. Zuma and his legal team have set for themselves to try and get Billy Downer removed, how difficult or how easy a task do they have at hand?
Thank you, Thulas, and good morning to your viewers as well. Look, Thulas, it's a difficult mountain to climb for the president or for the former president, in as far as that is concerned. Throughout the hearing of this matter, you will keep hearing reference to the case of Porridge versus the NDPP, which is essentially what is called the modern Bible in as far as section 106, 1H is concerned, and what has to be proven. Now, if you want to plead that special plea successfully, it is not easy. What you have to put to the court, I mean, the court has found that prosecutors essentially are different. If you want to remove a prosecutor, it is quite different as to removing a judicial officer. What you have to allege is impartiality. Now, impartiality in as far as prosecutors are concerned is different to that of judicial officers, because at the end of the day, prosecutors don't make decisions. It is the judges and the magistrates that actually make the decisions. The prosecutor's job is to put the evidence before the court. The court then decides what evidence is admissible and what evidence is not. So a mere political insinuation is not sufficient, but the president will have to put sufficient evidence to convince the court. Now, you have section 108 of the Criminal Procedure Act, which says that the president has the right, when he puts those allegations forth, to have a trial. So he would trial those allegations as well. So what you could find in this matter is a trial within a trial. So before we even get to the main trial, you would have a trial as to whether or not the president's special plea must succeed or not.
In fact, Sesethu, as you speak about that, let's bring up a graphic of the case that he's talking about, Gareth, the case of Porridge and another versus the NDPP. It was heard in the Supreme Court of Appeal, and basically the applicants in that matter had been successful in their section 106 1H application, and that was in the High Court. But the SCA then overturned that High Court decision and basically found that the removal standard, as Sesethu was telling us now, the removal standard for prosecutors is different to that of judges, and basically saying that in an adversarial system such as ours, it is inevitable that prosecutors will be partisan, because they do represent one of the two parties that are at play in criminal matters, being the state. And interestingly, the other thing that came out of that, Gareth, former President Jacob Zuma is asking that if Billy Downer is removed in terms of this section, then he is entitled to an acquittal. The court not coming to a firm view on that suggestion, but saying that, quote unquote, it is doubtful whether section 106(1)H plea entitles the accused to an acquittal. Sesethu, in terms of how the NPA responds to former President Jacob Zuma's plea today, what do they have to show?
Look, what the NPA would have to show essentially is that when Billy Downer was conducting his prosecution, he was conducting it in a partial, in fact in an impartial and in a fair and just manner. Now, what is important is the NPA Act, that is Section 32 of it, it says that when members of the NPA carry out their duties, they must do so impartially, they must do so without fear, favor, or prejudice. That is all Billy Downer has to show, that he has simply been acting within the scope of his job.
Yeah. And lastly, Gareth, while Sessethu is talking about that and the NPA's response, we don't know the full extent of what they will argue in court, but expect it to be along the lines that Sessethu has outlined for us in the last minute or so. But we also know that the NPA said a few days ago that at first glance, their impression was that the matters that Mr. Zuma is raising in terms of this plea are matters that have already been dealt with.